the most important topic is what are the key tax planning strategies for a startup in the Indian ecosystem. So I'd quickly take you through what are the introduction what are the introduction points and how we can implement it in our business for the success of a startup journey. So let me just take you through what all we are going to cover in this webinar and what best we can do in your business to grow it. So to start with, we need to understand that effective tax planning is very crucial for any business and especially for startups. When I say effective tax planning, it doesn't only contains the tax structure, but it's a combination of your business processes, of your internal controls, of your implementation of your planning processes, and the tax strategies which you implement for your business. Because this tax planning is directly correlated to your business objectives, and it is very pertinent that we should start this to implement in our business. Now, I believe as we have embarked in this new financial year, which has just started from April onwards, this is the perfect time wherein we can implement, revisit our strategies, and check what best we can do to give a healthy compliance report to the ecosystem from our business. So herein we have gathered few data which I would definitely like to highlight is that according to a report by World Bank, India ranks 115 out of 190 countries in terms of ease of paying taxes. And this data is quite alarming, and which definitely highlights that there is a very much need of effective tax planning for startups in India. Along with this, there has been a survey which has been conducted by one of the very eminent organizations, which says that 46% of startups in India still consider tax compliance to be a major challenge. So I would like to emphasize here that most of the founders, when I speak to most of the founders, they find that they are struggling so much with managing the compliances under various laws, under various regulations. So they could not devote their 100% timing in their core activities and scaling of business, which ultimately leads to the failure of a startup. So it's very pertinent, it's very important for all the startups to consider that the tax planning in their system is very strong, very structured, so that their business can grow. Having said that, let me just take you through that what is the basic Indian tax landscape looks like. I believe most of us are familiar with the nomenclatures of taxes. So Indian tax comprises of two various taxes. Some taxes are imposed by central government, which is directly controlled by central government, and some are taxes which are directly controlled by state government and which varies from state to state. So we need to understand that what are the tax landscapes herein, so that we can comply with all those. Now I must highlight and I must emphasize on the fact that Indian tax landscape is constantly evolving, because the government is introducing new taxes, new laws every here and now, and along with that there are many changes which are coming, which are being amended to your current tax laws and regulations. So it's very important for all the startups to stay updated and to seek some professional help to understand that what changes has been made in the current tax laws and regulations, which is directly impacting their business. And definitely I am acknowledging that there is a complexity and lack of clarity because of this evolving changes, and which is impacting the which are impacting the startups, their growth. But it's very important, but parallelly it's very important that we comply with all these rules and regulations under various forms. So as we understand what is the Indian tax landscape is, let me just quickly take you through some common mistakes which are being made by startups. So we have identified few mistakes which are generally made by startups, because after spending a decade working with most of the startups in India, we can easily identify that there are some common mistakes which most of the startups in India make, and which leads to their pitfall. Let us discuss all this one by one, so that we can understand that these are the mistakes which generally happen at the initiation of the company, and what steps we can take to avoid those. So initially, what we have experienced, that even though an entity is registered in all aspects, but there are certain reportings, certain compliances, certain filings which has to be done in due course with respect to the registration of entity. But most of the startups fail here. They overlook the associated compliances related to the entity registrations, which at the end create a lot of legal and financial penalties and consequences on them. So it's very important that the all the associated compliances with entity registrations in done on proper time. Now, the most common mistake which is being made by most of the startups, and I keep on emphasizing on this point, that startups should start maintaining a proper data room. So, with whoever startups we start to work, the most common setfall we find that there is a complete mess in the managing the data. There is no proper records, there is no proper data, there is no proper reportings. So hence it is very important that from as soon as the entity is registered, we create a proper data room where all the proper documentation is done, so that so that there are very minimal chances of any incorrect reportings to the government. So it's very pertinent that we maintain a proper accounting records. Now the next common mistake which is made by most of the startups is that, even though they have the intent to comply with most of the compliances in the ecosystem, but due to lack of knowledge, due to unawareness, because of improper guidance, they fail to identify that which laws are attracted to their business, and hence there is a scenario wherein lot of incompliances happen, which ultimately results in a lot of penalties. So herein it's very important that you seek some professional advice, who can correctly take you through that what are the laws, what are the various compliance which is attracting to your business, and they are done in time. So this kind of proactive steps are very much required for a startup to enhance their quality in the ecosystem, and to get a complete healthy compliance report. Now, as we have identified that there are certain common mistakes which are being done by most of the startups, so now what are the strategies which can help a startup to overcome all those mistakes? So we have identified few pointers in this, which I would definitely like to share with you all. Is that the the very first planning which we have to do in respect of our strategies is what can be the framework of our business. So and that should align with the strategy and your business plans. Now, if some startups want to expand globally, they want to research the global markets, they must be aware of the laws which are attracted to them as per Indian Act, and as well as the former countries Act. So it is very important to understand that what kind of structure we want to enter, and what laws, rules, and regulations are attracted. Now, I would like to reiterate the same point again, as we need to keep a proper data maintenance, so that all our processes are streamlined. Now, how we can maintain accurate records? So it's very important that we create some specific policies and procedures so as to outline how our data would be collected, processed, and stored, and how it can be utilized in a manner uh, which gives a complete picture of reporting to the government while filing, so that there are minimal chances or zero chances of any mistakes. To continue in the same line, there are further few points which should startup should keep in mind for doing their tax planning strategies. Are like nowadays most of the startups are funded. So when a startup is funded, they should, as well, along with the startups, as well as the investors should also understand the tax implication of funding sources, because then only this the compliances associated with associated with funding of sources can be done on due time. And now I must emphasize that due diligence is a very crucial factor of getting funds. So it's very pertinent that all our data is properly managed, and it can give a clear and concise reports to the investors, so that they are in a position to understand what risks and opportunities are associated with the investments. Said so, we should also be aware that our government is very kind and giving certain kind of tax holidays, for certain deductions to the eligible startups, so that they can reduce their tax liability. So herein, you should consult your professionals to understand what tax benefits you can get from this, which can help in mitigating your tax liabilities. Now, as we understood that what are the key tax planning strategies which a startup can implement in their business as per the needs, so let us understand what kind of planning we can do, so that we are in compliance with all the rules and regulations under various authorities. What we have practically experienced, that when a startup is registered, they feel that the compliance is secondary. We for a couple of months, since the revenue is not there in the business, we can avoid or we can overlook the compliances. But the real scenario is not so. As soon as an entity is registered, you should appoint a tax consultant who can strategize your compliance goals, which ultimately is correlated to your business goals. Now, how we can streamline our business processes? So we can establish some internal controls, which can segregate the duties, documentation of transactions, and which is regularly monitored and reported to the senior authorities, so that all the compliance program remains effective and relevant to the changing landscape. And it's very important for the founders also to understand what is the basic overview of Indian tax system and what is the importance of compliance in the ecosystem, because this proper compliance gives complete transparency, which improves the financial performance as well as your reputation in the ecosystem, which ultimately leads to an increase in the valuation of the company. So it's very important that we plan some processes, implement some processes in our business to understand to enhance the quality of the reportings which we are doing to the various authorities. At the same time, we can implement some business processes controls which can easily identify the potential errors or fraudulent activities on a very real time basis. And it will be very helpful to go back and take the action plans to cover up or to identify the gaps and to rectify the mistakes what has happened. So if we can identify what are the activities which or errors which has happened on real time basis, so it become very easy to go back and change, go back and make the corrective measures against them. Now, as we understood what planning, what compliance planning we can do for various entities, so it's very important to understand what kind of action points can be implemented in our business to for the success of a startup. Now, working with most of the startups, we globally also we understand that the founders find themselves stumbling upon roadblocks, and one of the most important roadblocks is the understanding the cross-border taxation, which is applicable for the entities who are present globally. So herein it's very important to emphasize and to follow the cross-border taxation rules and regulations which are attractive to your business. Now, what we can do as an action plan in one business to ensure that all the compliances are in place. So we can start with a regular compliance audit done at a specific intervals, so that it can identify the areas wherein the risk of non-compliance is there, and based on the findings of the regular or based on the findings of the audit, we can plan a strategy. We can improve or enhance our compliance plan or customize our compliance plan so that they are effective for in line with the business, and which is definitely going to measure the performance of the startup in the ecosystem by various key performance indicators. Like what can be done, so what revenue you have generated with respect to certain cost directly associated with that. So that kind of key performance indicators uh, are very easy to find when we implement all these plans. And hence it is very important for the founders also to have an intent to comply with the various rules and regulations. Now, as I said that cross-border taxation is very much important for the entities who are present globally. So now, what are the compliances associated to that? Now, when an entity is present in India, as well as they have some associated entities which are present globally, then there are certain kinds of different reportings, different audits which has to be done to substantiate the transactions. So herein one of the most important thing is filing of transfer pricing report, and getting a transfer pricing audit done, which can substantiate the transactions between Indian and associated global entity present. Which and this is very crucial. Now, one of the most important tip which we implement in most of our clients is various kind of dashboards, customized reports, which can give you a complete synopsis of your compliance processes. And this is very important for all the founders to have it in place, so that the founders can get the overview of their compliance processes in a fingertip. So it's very important to use specific reports as per the needs of the business, so that the founders have a grip of what's going in the business with respect to the compliance part. And herein I believe you can seek some professional advice who can help you to understand that what is the compliance framework which should revolve around your business, and whether the setup processes, whether internal controls or business processes, they are legally sound or not, or whether they are up to date with the latest regulatory changes or not. Now, one of the most important point is corporate governance compliance, which most of the startups fail to comply with. So herein it's very important that all the meetings, all the resolutions, all the happenings which are done in a entity should be properly documented and reported along with the necessary disclosure requirements. Now, to give some live examples how Tax Mantra has helped one global unicorn to raise its unicorn bridge hassle-free. Definitely, there were a lot of challenges in the startup. As I said, all the startups have certain challenges at the starting, complying with the compliance part. So the same challenges was there in that entity also, and there was a complete mess. The tax and legal structure was completely unoptimized, and there was weak finance control, weak compliance, weak corporate governments, and weak compliance processes, along with weak controls over the data. So, what strategy we practically followed, and which definitely has taken the entity to the next level, is that we have strategized, we have crafted a one team with our core team members who have done an in-depth analysis on the business, on their system, and they have integrated and implemented multiple tax and finance processes, and implemented various controls, various processes into the system, so that this there is a optimized tax structure in the business. And eventually it has strengthened the key functions, the processes, along with automation of various reports which are being provided to the founders, and also which can be presented to the investors to get an understanding of the financial records of the business. And definitely what impact it has on those in that entity is that that client has successfully raised their unicorn bridge, and now they are growing like anything, and they are continuing to evolve in collaboration with us. So, in a nutshell, I would like to emphasize that all the startups should follow a positive approach, a proactive approach towards this compliance part by setting up a proper structure, a proper process wherein all the this tax and finance processes are integrated are integrated, and they can create a healthy compliance report in the ecosystem. So herein we have given, I believe we have given some valuable insights to all the startups, what they can do to implement in their business in this new financial year. And if you have any questions, you can get in touch with us, and we would be glad to assist you on all kind of matters. Thank you, everyone.